Hello, so today we are talking about bonding rejection, the pull towards the self and the push away, otherwise known as attraction and repulsion. Maybe sounds boring, it's not. It's kind of everything. So when we are attracting to the self, what that means is that we are dragging, drawing, attracting, demanding, pulling, buying, grabbing, clutching, clinging to people and possessions and things that it craves. So this bonding, this pull towards the self known as attraction, is the tool of mother consciousness. Stay with me. Rejection, which is repelling, thrusting aside, pushing away, evading everything like people, animals, possessions, things that it does not want, the impulsive rejection, it creates an illusion of privacy and security. It's the impulse that urges rifts in families and relationships and communities and nations. So when either of these things are ego-driven, it causes havoc. It can wreck lives. It can destroy communities when these things are ego-driven. So let's say that you are, and so I'm not talking about big, huge, pervasive, obvious things, but that this is something that you constantly do, all day long. Every single person does it, right? You drive by somebody's house, and what is it? Do you look at it and you think, ooh, I like that, and you're pulled towards it, or do you think, oh, I don't like that, and you're rejecting it and you're pushing it away? This is just an example of you're driving down the street, and so this is something that is occurring constantly, that either pull towards or that push away from. Now, why does this matter? Because it is the pull towards and the push away from that either connects us with that divine love or it separates us from it. Okay, let me give you an example. So let's say that the divine wants to give you a car. The divine wants your car to be paid off. Okay, let's say you've got payments and you're like, oh, I don't want these payments. Well, the divine wants to give you that. It's already yours. It's already done. But what thoughts, what beliefs are around it that are repelling it and that are pushing it away from happening? What beliefs do you have? So is there a belief like, well, it hasn't happened yet, this kind of thing doesn't happen to me, people always take from me and I never receive, I'm always the giver, never the getter? What beliefs do you have that are around it that are pushing away those payments just being paid for you? Maybe you have a belief that, well, I need to have a partner that's going to pay for these things for me. I'm going to remind you that everything comes from spirit. So, and remind you of that story that I had, several years ago, 20 some years ago. I'm a young 20-year-old something person, and I needed my rent. And I didn't have it. I was like, I think it was like $89 short, $139 short. It's something like that. It was short by a bit. So I go to work that day, and I was a waitress at the time, and I prayed before I left, asking, God to give me a very specific amount of money. Like, I need this for rent. And then I went believing, of course, I'm going to get that. Well, I go into work and it's slow, like real slow. Normally it wouldn't have been an issue to make that kind of money, but I'm kind of like concerned, like thinking, is this going to come through? When this man comes up to me, who would normally have sat in my section, but my section was full or whatever, they wouldn't seat him with me. So he came over and he said, I felt like I needed to give you this. And he goes and he hands me a handful of money. And, I did nothing. I wasn't his waitress. I wasn't anything. And he just, like, God told me to do this. So he comes, he gives me that. I'm like, wow, this is amazing. Anyways, I go and I cash out that night. And I had exactly to the dollar the exact amount that I had prayed and asked for. So sometimes we believe things that, like, well, how could this car payment get paid when I haven't worked for it, or I'm not with somebody else who could pay for it, or I'm not whatever. But it is all belief. Everything is all belief. And our beliefs repel or attract things to us. So if you had a belief that, of course, the divine is going to take care of me. Of course the divine is going to care for me. Somebody, probably some random stranger, is going to come up to me today and give me $649 so I can make my car payment. And if you had that belief truly inside of you, and you actually believed it and you didn't have any doubt about it, that would happen. That's exactly what would happen, is that you would be attracting, pulling towards yourself that outcome. Now, if you have the belief, and what I have noticed, and it's become very, very noticeable to me, is that when people do not have a belief like this, like, of course the divine's always going to take care of me, of course that's always going to happen, when they don't have that, then most people will speak about regularly the things that they do not have. Well, if I could just get this paid off, well, if I could just do that, and I owe all this over here, and this just never seems to end, and blah, blah, blah. And it is like you are constantly, with those words, affirming the exact very thing that you do not want. And what it is that you're doing when this is happening is you are cementing it. You're making sure that you're not going to get the thing that you want. But here's the deal. You do not know that tomorrow something absolutely wonderful will not happen. You don't know that. But you ensure that it won't when you allow your current beliefs to run off of the past things that have happened in the past and expect, well, of course, nobody's going to come up and just pay this for me. Of course, I'm not going to just get some letter from the bank that says, hey, miraculously, for whatever reason, we had this thing going on and your vehicle's now paid off. Those things can and do happen, but they only happen when there is a belief that is present there that attracts it and that does not repel it. This is why it is so critically important to not be critical and to not really have criticism or judgment about things, and to see everything as good. So let's say that you're out driving, or you're riding your bike, you're walking, and you walk by somebody's house and you're like, oh, I don't like that. You see somebody has some way that they decorate, like, I can't even imagine what that would be like. But anyways, insulting somebody's other thing, gross. But let's just imagine that this happens, that you have that thought of, ooh, I don't like this. Well, what are you doing in that moment? Because you're manifesting in the now. So you're now creating, this critical frequency and vibration that is going out, and it'll be returned back to you. It's going to bring you more things that you can criticize and complain about. You don't want that. Who does? Nobody wants that. You want the good things. You want the beautiful things. So when you're only sending out the good and only the beautiful, it's the only option that the goodness and the beauty is what is returned back to you. But here's the lag time issue that has people giving up. First of all, they'll start to do this, and you will immediately notice things. You'll notice things within a couple days or a week's time. You'll notice things very quickly when you shift your attitude, that actually different things begin occurring in your life. Let's say that you had a problem with somebody and you start thinking about them differently. They're actually going to behave differently. You're going to notice these things right away. But here's the deal. Let's say that this is the example of, oh, you want your car paid off. Okay, so you're only putting out the positive. Well, you're living your life moment to moment. So a week's gone by and a week and a half's gone by, and now it's been 10 days. And you're like, well, it's been 10 days. Sure, I'm feeling better about this, but my car's still not paid off. And so then you bring it back again, right? You've circled back again to, well, but this hasn't happened yet. And you then reaffirm your belief in that thing that you were trying to get over in the past. So when you can stop doing this, and maybe it's going to take a year. Maybe it's going to take a year before you really, really see a significant shift happening, occurring visibly in your life. Maybe it's going to take that long. But it's never going to happen if you give up and if you just stop. But those little things, those are the gifts of the Spirit that are showing you, here you go, here's a little bit of proof. I'm guiding you, I'm here with you the whole way. Here's a little bit more proof, here's a little bit more proof, here's a little bit more proof. And as you get those little baby proofs constantly, what that's going to do is that's going to reaffirm for you, hey, I'm on the right track and I need to keep doing this. But as you know, When we don't do things, when we haven't always done things, let's say that somebody's trying to lose weight and they got 75 pounds to lose. Okay, things are going good. They started out, they lost 10 pounds right away. Bam. All right, now they're down and they lost 15 pounds. Now they're down to 18 pounds. Then a week goes by and they don't lose a pound. But they were doing the same thing that they were doing that got them down to the 18 pounds. How long is it going to take before that person just gives up altogether if they don't keep seeing immediate results? People give up. People give up real quick when they're not seeing it right now in the now. But this is not how faith works. This is not how it works. This is knowing when I stick to it. You know, I still got to deal with all that karma that I put out a year ago. So if things aren't feeling real good and real great right now, that you got to think back. What was I doing 6 months, a year, 6 years, 10 years? Have you gone through that karma yet? Is it returning back? Is this what you're experiencing? What it is that you are doing in the now is you are storing up for yourself treasures in heaven. But heaven's here on earth. It's us that creates it. It's us that does it. And so as we're storing up these treasures for ourselves here in heaven, which is creating heaven on earth, it takes a bit of time. And it takes consistency. You can't just decide that you're going to create heaven and then start creating hell tomorrow. That's not how it works. Is you got to be creating heaven constantly all the time, and that takes effort, that takes work, that takes mind control. So when we're talking about bonding and rejection, what is it that you feel that pull towards, and what is it that you push away, and what is this doing to you? And what beliefs are behind the pull towards, and what beliefs are behind the push away that has you constantly doing the same thing, accepting the same things and rejecting the same things? What beliefs are there? Because until these beliefs behind the bonding and the rejection, or the attraction and the repulsion, or the push and the pull are addressed, you will continue to reject and pull towards the exact same thing. So you will have situations that come in your life and you're like, why does this keep happening to me? And it's because you're actually pulling it towards yourself. Or it's because you're actually rejecting the good and wonderful thing that's supposed to come into you through your beliefs of, ooh, that kind of stuff never happens to me. I never catch the lucky break. Well, if you start thinking differently and you think, you know, I do catch the lucky break. People see my talent. People see my worth. People see my value. People don't underestimate me. People always, see me and my value very clearly. When you start to think and speak and act and talk in this way, then this is what you'll attract to yourself. But you're not going to speak and think and act and talk that way if those beliefs aren't in alignment. And even if you did speak and talk and act that way, but you didn't truly believe it, it's going to go with the energy that's underlying it, not just the words that are spoken. So if I say, ooh, I can, create this thing, but I don't really believe it, well, I'm going to get my belief. I'm not going to get the thing. You always get the belief that's underlying it. So when we talk about bonding and rejection and attraction and repulsion and the push and the pull, I want to talk to you in terms of energy. So if you think about whatever thought that you have, whatever thought that comes up, so let's say that you have an angry thought or a sad thought, what occurs in your body when you have an angry thought? Are you pulling things towards yourself, or are you tightening yourself up, stiffening yourself up, and literally pushing and rejecting things away? This is why our emotions are so closely tied to our entire spiritual nature. You can't separate the two. Because when we're angry, we are pushing away, right? We're saying, I don't like that. I reject that. And by doing that, you're tightening yourself up, you're pushing it away, and you also tighten yourself up. And by tightening yourself up, the Father, the divine love tightens itself up as well, and it can't flow into you. Whereas if we are open and receptive and we don't reject anything, then what is meant for us, that those loving energies will flow into us. But people base a lot of their life off of fear-based energies. This is a tightening up of self, right? When you are in love, and you're just in love. Oh, you feel open and you're like, ooh, good and wonderful things flow to me. So good. Right? You can see yourself being open. But when you are in fear, oh, you're afraid. I mean, you might even be hiding under a blanket, but your whole entire body is tense and tightened up. And that is what you're imbuing all of the empty space around you with. That is what you are creating here for yourself in the future. Not only are you putting yourself through hell at the present moment when you're experiencing that fear, whether it's worry or doubt or stress, whatever it happens to be, you're putting yourself through hell at that moment, but you're also creating more of it. You're storing it up for yourself in the future as well. But when you are open and you're in alignment with the truth, which is you're in alignment with the love that's within everything, you're not tightened up, you're open, right? In order to be in love, you have to be open, you're vulnerable, you're completely open, and you've put yourself into this open state, and by doing that, you now allow all the goodness, all of the love that wants to flow to you constantly, second by second, you're now allowing it to flow into you. But if you're living in fear-based energies, living in fear, in worry, in doubt, in lack, any of those low vibrational frequencies, any of that fear, you're not living in love. And you've tightened yourself up, you've rejected what's around you, and therefore all the goodness that's just surrounding you, it's just right there, it also cannot flow to you. And you believe that by tightening yourself up that you are rejecting, you're saying, I don't want these fear, I don't want this stuff, I don't want all this. But the universal law does not know that it's not something that you want, it just knows what you are. You're manifesting in the now. So if you are living in those fear-based, worrisome energies right in the now, the universe says, oh, they want more of that. I'm going to give them what they are. And it gives you more worries, more fears, more doubts. It gives you all of those things. So it's completely counteractive to what it is that you actually desire, what it is that you're desiring, and what it is that you're actually wanting for yourself. So how do you overcome these fear-based energies? Well, first of all, easiest way is to have an enlightening experience with the divine. When you can rid yourself of all that it is not, when you can let go of it, even but temporarily, letting go of all of the worries and the fears and the doubt and the anger and the resentment and the rejection and all the repulsion and all the things from the past, when you can let that go, you then, even in just that moment, will gain a moment of enlightenment, and you will feel and know and understand, oh, this freedom that I'm experiencing right now, this is the truth. This freedom is the truth. And it will have you seeking and wanting more and more and more of it. And it is through that seeking, that wanting the more, it says seek and you shall find. You just got to keep seeking. It is through that seeking that you will eventually stumble across the truthful natures and will then be in alignment with them. And then you will understand how extremely important it is to let go of the fear, to let go of the worry, to let go of the doubt, because you will see how harmful it is and how it was never the truth to begin with. It was never the truth to begin with. This kind of goes along with the lines of, if people believe that they're not good enough, or that they're not valuable or important or worthy or deserving of, goodness coming in their life, they will attract all of those things into their life. And there will more than likely be a lot of worry that is present, a lot of fear-based energies that are present. And they are doing themselves absolutely no favors by living this lie, because it is always a lie. Even if you believe right now that you're not good enough, and you could give me 15 or 17 or 23 different examples of why you're not, I don't care what it is that you come up with. It is not believable, because I have never once regressed somebody back and had that been the truth, that they're actually not worthy. This was just something that occurred that then changed somebody's perspective from the truth to this lie of I'm not good enough. And it then pervaded into their mind and was something that they carried forward with them. And it became so pervasive in all of their thoughts that it then became pervasive in all of their experiences. Now, this was all based off of their belief and not based off of actual truth, right? Just because somebody believes that they're not good enough, that's not the truth. I'm telling you, it's a lie. It is a very untruthful thing, but when people believe in it, it will become truthful for them. It doesn't mean it's the ultimate truth, but it will become truthful for them. And when they change that belief to something that's actually truthful, not only will they have set themselves free, but then they will experience that new truthfulness in their life, just like they experienced the lie as truth in their life previous to that. What we're doing here is a spiritual community. This connection is we're really just setting ourselves free from all the lies that we have believed in the past. All of the worrisome energies, all the fear-based energies. We're setting ourselves free from the hate, from the revenge, from the unforgiveness, from all of that stuff. And once you set yourself free from that, you are then living in divine alignment, and you are then in the truth, and you are then truly, truly free. So that is what I have for you guys here today. If you have tuned in, thank you. I hope that was easy enough to follow along with. Sometimes, I know things in my head and trying to speak them out loud, and I hope that I'm portraying exactly what it is that I'm really trying to get across. But I love you all. Thank you for listening and tuning into this daily podcast. If you haven't already, just go and check out the daily podcast list, and there's at least 80 videos on there, all audio-only recordings that you could tune into. Love you all so much. Thanks for tuning in. Take care, and I will see you guys in tomorrow's podcast.